Good morning, everybody. So we are live. Yes, the camera angle is a little bit different this morning. And that's actually the very first insight I'm going to give you. Today, we're talking about the 12 tips when it comes to leadership, things that I'm actually focusing on to build prime real estate and prime media productions. If we've never met before, welcome to my channel. I'm Justin Konikow, one of the co-owners of Prime Real Estate. It is a locally owned real estate brokerage that has global reach. I own it with my wife. She is an amazing, amazing person. She has her MBA from the Richard Ivey School of Business, incredible at systems and operation. I'm the marketing guy. My background is marketing and advertising. I actually came from hospitality, ran a chain of restaurants, and had my hands in the sauce. I'm a creator, photographer, editor. I do all things, but now my focus is primarily real estate marketing and sales. What's cool about our company, though, is we are one of the only companies globally that does residential, commercial, investments, agricultural, land development. And if you think about all those aspects of real estate, a lot of times you have niche companies that do each one of those. Think of us as your Navy SEAL team when it comes to real estate. It's a one-stop shop solution where, yes, you can buy a beautiful lakefront property with us, your very first starter home, or open a 60,000 square foot commercial office, because we have different Navy SEAL teams for each aspects of real estate. We are the owners of the company. We are the ones that put our 10,000 hours in, and we have a massive, massive database of clients that far surpasses brokerages, probably 10 times our size. How did we do it? I'm going to share some of the secrets today and things that we're working on from a leadership perspective to make sure we are leading those Navy SEAL teams effectively and evolving to become a better version of ourselves, because our goal is to become the most trusted name in real estate. And by doing so, we're going to have to lead people, both clients, we're going to have to lead our organization in an effective manner and follow through on things we promise people. Now, the very first lesson that I said I'd share with you is the camera angle. Why, Justin, is the camera angle have anything to do with leadership when it comes to business? Well, for the last 35 minutes, I have been trying to get my CamLink 4K card to work. I have a DSLR camera in front of me that I keep staring at, when in reality, I should be staring at my webcam. When things don't go right in business and life, a lot of times people just stick their head in the sand. They figure out a way or just to run away from the problem. I could have easily said, you know what, I'm not going to go on camera today. I'm going to do this segment live on Clubhouse, on audio, maybe post it as a podcast. But instead, I thought about who's watching this and what are they going to get out of it? Do they really need to see Justin on a fancy DSLR in focus and have a little bit of bokeh? Because that's the creative side of me, right? I could think perfectionism is what I need to always strive for, when in reality, it is consistent action over time, even if not done at 100% quality, will yield better results than always just striving for perfect and never actually taking action in what you're trying to accomplish, because it's not just so. So if you're watching this and you've been trying to do video on social media, you know it matters. You want to do YouTube, you want to do TikTok, you want to do Reels. I would challenge you today to just take out your camera, stop worrying about microphones, fancy equipment, and lighting, and use this as inspiration to shoot just one video. And then I would encourage you that next week, do 2. And then the week after, do 3. Because the people that I admire the most when it comes to leadership are not afraid of being vulnerable and doing something less than perfect, but then also will make adjustments and level up every single day for the rest of their lives. One of the biggest misnomers when it comes to business growth, leadership, and even life in general is that you have to absolutely spend all the time in the world planning to do something, when in reality, think about it. Have you ever planned to do something and then never done it because you were just stuck in the planning phase? I would say taking action is number one. And I did that today by just pressing record, turning on FaceTime. And now you see the full studio, which is actually doubling as my gym and studio. We actually have some changes coming to this setup soon. So stick around, hit the notification and the subscribe button if you want to see what's happening next on this channel. The second tip that I'm going to give you when it comes to leadership, something that we're very focused on, is being a visionary for your team, organization, or even if you're a single person at home trying to start a business. You need to think about yourself as the visionary for what's happening in the next 5 to 10 years in your business, because the people in your organization are dealing with the day-to-day. You are the one who is ultimately really responsible for what's coming around the corner. How do you become a visionary? I would say get around other visionaries and other leaders and draw inspiration from them. When I got in the real estate business with my wife, we started our company out of a 135 square foot office with a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and it was just us. I didn't find anybody that inspired me locally, so I looked globally and I found two people. The first person I found was Scott McGilvery from the TV show Income Property. I've told the story about how I met him and how actually they recruited me. I thought it was a scam. I was like, why are you calling me? I'm just some random guy in London, Ontario. We ended up building a friendship. I speak at his summits twice a year. We have a very, very strong partnership with the McGilvery Group. But how did I draw inspiration from a guy who's a TV celebrity when he's not in the real estate industry? Well, I looked at how is he operating the McGilvery Group and his business? How is he operating his investment consultation firm? And what I noticed that he was doing was constant iteration. He would launch events, and I mean, we would have 300 to 700 people at these events. We were doing them 4 times a year at kind of the peak. And what he started doing was after every single event, he would debrief and we would discuss amongst all the service providers how it went, how we could bring more value. We would talk about the membership and how we could serve them. And at the next event, I would notice these constant adaptations to their standard operating procedures. So being around a visionary allowed me to turn around and say, well, I'm going to build out the investment division at Prime to serve investors at an ultra high level. What do they want? They want market intelligence. They want me to be able to tell them where the deals are at, and they want to be connected with the best network on the face of the earth. So if they work with us, they get all of our prime partners, which is a huge reason why they work with us, because when I pick up the phone and call that HVAC, that technician, the stager, the contractor, the planning division, it buys them the access that would take them a decade to build on their own, or maybe they wouldn't get if they worked with Uncle Jimmy, the realtor, who maybe doesn't have the best reputation with the planning division. It makes a huge difference. The next visionary I went and met was actually Mr. Ryan Serhant in 2018. Again, saying yes and not being afraid to be unprepared when somebody called me to interview him on a podcast led to me going there and then just getting around somebody that was doing something at an ultra high level. I laugh when I look at the photo of the two of us because it's his old Nest Seekers office. I think he only had 60 agents. Now he has a global course. He has 15,000 agents worldwide. I'm one of the 7 ambassadors globally in little old London, Ontario. So getting around visionaries can make you a better leader, but you got to leap in, just like I told you the first tip was. I'd say the third thing that I'm really focused on, which would probably be my number one because it's the North Star for Prime, is integrity. Every leader that I admire at the end of the day has integrity within their organization and outside of their organization. What people say about them when they are not in the room is one of the biggest reasons people are drawn to them. And also when they're executing the visionary portion of their leadership journey, they tend to get a lot more traction because some of the ideas that leaders are going to have seem insane at the time. I'm working on something within Prime that is a solution from a tech stack perspective that will speed us up times 10. It's probably going to take me the next 3 months worth of work, but I'm excited about it. If I explained it in detail to every single person within my organization, I know they may think this is just another idea or another execution that we're going to try that may be implemented and maybe pulled back down the road. But they do trust that at the end of the day, if we try 10 things, we are going to keep the best and then get rid of the rest. Also, they know that as they're out executing, that I will stand behind them based on the principles and the core values of my brokerage. Now, how do you showcase integrity within your leadership team, with your clients? I would say the only way to showcase integrity is by action. I've had situations in the past with clients where I've had team members come to me and tell me things were done within the relationship with that client that just didn't adhere to our core values. At that time, I could have put the profits before the people. One was actually, I think it was 90 homes. Average price point of a home was, call it 700 to 800,000. Commission on those homes. You can do the math. Very, very big. But the site super had done something to one of our sales representative that wasn't okay, not with their core values. I could have justified to myself very easily how I could maybe just move her to another site, like, take care of the relationship. Instead, I drove to Toronto, had a discussion with the owner of that company and that development, and chose to just go our different ways. We're not in alignment with where we were growing. And inherently, that looked like a failure in the beginning and seemed like a very difficult thing. for a real estate agent who's growing a business to put forth publicly, because agents watching this or agents that would have seen that, oh my gosh, Justin's not working on that site anymore, and may think, oh, he got fired or he lost it. And you know, at the end of the day, I don't really care what other people think, because the only person I'm competing with is myself. And I know inherently the reason that we decided to part ways with that developer, and my agent more than anything saw the action that I took to stand up for her. What happened about a year and a half later is a bigger, larger developer I met at a party came up to me and said that they respected the fact that I walked away from that site, that they actually did not want to work with somebody that was associated with that specific developer. And now that we were going to work on more projects together than I was working on previously. So what seemed as a perceived loss ended up being a perceived gain because of the integrity that we chose to execute against that. I'm not the most perfect person. I make mistakes every single day. I'm a human being, as is every other leader on the planet. But what I'm trying to share with you is something that inherently seemed like the worst thing in the world at the time ended up being the best thing in the world. So stand in the refining fire. Make sure to stand in integrity with your organization and the people around you, and it'll make a huge, huge difference. The next one's a fun one. I said I was going to give you 13. I'm actually going to give you 14. This one's actually self-confidence. So this one popped up on my radar and really made me think of all of the leaders that I admire. I have a wall of champions behind me. I see Tim Tebow, George St. Pierre, my boy Jesus, obviously, is at the middle, Kobe Bryant, Lewis Hamilton, Gary Vee, goes on and on and on and on. Every one of those photos inspires me every day when I'm working out. So I'd encourage you to do the same thing. Find people that inspire you, print off just a portrait photo. I like black and white because it's aesthetically pleasing, and start thinking about what makes them leaders. Self-confidence is different than ego. Self-confidence is them looking down as they're focused on what they're trying to execute. And every single one of those photos, the through line that I see is the same thing I just said. They are competing with themselves. But when they're in competition because they've done the training, they are confident as can be. I may come off as cocky sometimes to people that don't know who I am because they don't spend any time listening to the words that I'm actually saying. Maybe they don't know how I actually interact, or where my heart is at and what my core values are. So my confidence can be maybe perceived as ego when in reality it's not. I probably have the smallest ego you can ever imagine. Definitely more broken than most, but I've been given the opportunity to train at a very high level, get around really good people that inspired me. And when I enter the arena, my self-confidence is sky high because I've put in the reps. So if you find that you're lacking self-confidence, the solution for you is very simple. What does your calendar look like? Are you putting in time to train at the thing that you need to be confident in on a regular basis? If you're a brand new real estate agent, role playing, or are you taking courses that are training you on being a better real estate agent? Do you know the market? Like if you're watching this, right, and you want to buy a house in Texas, send me a DM because I have the best connections on the face of the earth, or anywhere on the planet. I have an amazing network for you. But how am I going to find the best agent? I'm actually going to find somebody that knows the market better than anybody else, because that's what you need. They know the inventory. They know what's coming. They know what's sold. More than sold data, because sold data is just a number on a screen. They know the interpretation of the sold data. So if I call somebody, a lot of times they're not confident because they don't actually know the market, or they're scrambling because they're just not prepared. So I would say get really good at the thing that you want to or need to be confident in, and don't be afraid to review how you execute and change things. The market is shifting here in Canada in a massive way. There's a lot of inventory. You need to be very dialed in when you are listing properties on price point. We have to choose who we're working with, because I swear there are so many sellers bringing their houses to market because they're worried about future price corrections. But when we're doing our listing presentations, we are literally refining our system. Like we're working on a brand new PDF that we can show sellers of, this is the entire process start to finish. This is what it would be like if you put a sign on the lawn yourself. This is what it looks like if you work with an average agent. This is what it looks like if you work with a prime agent. So we're refining our systems so that we can be more confident when we're sitting in the fire. Also, from a leadership or team perspective, I would say self-confidence comes back to, do you know what your core values are and what your vision is? If you're ultra clear on those, the self-confidence will be there, and you won't be questioning as much all of the mind worms that you see. Like other brokerages try and recruit my team members all the time. Fully aware of it. I get the screenshot text messages and we laugh and we kind of joke about it because I have a really loyal squad. In the past, I've had team members leave because they did not line up with their core values. Like they're not in the right place for where they want to grow their business. And that's a net positive, right? I could sit down and be constantly worried about losing agents, or agents going to other brokerages or starting their own business and leaving. To me, Why would I spend a single minute focused on that when I know exactly what our core values are, where we're going, and that the version of Prime that you see today is going to be 5 times that in 5 years? If I spent all my time worrying, then it would really destroy my self-confidence. And I think my interactions would be very different with the people that are around me. I'd say emotional intelligence after self-confidence is ultra important as well. So going back to what I was just saying, not focusing on agents leaving is one thing. Not focusing on the people that are around you and being empathetic to where they're at in their journey is a completely different thing. So making sure that you're communicating with the people within your organization where you're going is key, but also making sure that they're communicating with you where they're going is ultra key. Everybody does a yearly check-in. What I typically try to do is every 120 days check in one way or another with the people in my squad to just make sure they're good, that they feel supported. We've recently put in some fresh structure where we actually have a list of questions and we ask them, what do you think about all of these things? 1 to 10, seven's not an option. If it's a 6 or less, what would it take to turn that 6 to an 8? What's been really cool about that is 120 days is enough time that they can go out, execute, and then come back and be held accountable to their goals and ambitions. So I've been getting a ton of feedback from the agents that they just love that. It's like, man, like that 120 days comes and I'm like, oh man, I've only got 2 quarters left. I really got to focus. So it actually helps them. But then B, it's allowed us to see from an organizational perspective, places where I thought we had gaps that they're like, no, that's a 10 out of 10. We love that. And if I get 9 out of 10 agents that are like, that's a 10 out of 10, and one that's like, that's a 2, well, maybe that agent's not actually a fit for Prime, rather than, oh no, I need to change this one thing to serve this one agent. But there's other areas where we've seen areas of opportunity where like it comes in at like a 4 to a 6. And I'm like, that's a gap. How do we plug that gap? We put a simple plug in place with the leadership team, and then that's our rock for the next 120 days. So there is a practical and tactical way for you to go and execute with your team tomorrow to move mountains in your business. The hack, you can only move rocks and call it 60 to 90 day increments, do 120-day check-ins with your people and have a system on how you do it so you're not just, flying by the seat of your pants. The next tip I'd say is strong communication. So making sure that when you speak, you're communicating in an effective manner, the way that people want to be communicated with. I'm like a bull in a china shop. My energy speaking on stage has been compared to being shot out of a cannon. I'm fully aware of it. That's why I do this on YouTube, so you can slow me down to 0.5 speed because I talk way too fast. But when I'm talking to different agents, I also know some of them are very numbers driven. They will literally itemize every single minute that they're spending on every file. And that's how they like to think. I know other people could care less about counting the dollars. They care more about the relationship. And, maybe they'll overanalyze all the risk factors mitigating things, right? And my job is to be a strong communicator as a leader and come in and make sure that I'm speaking to them in the language they want to be spoken to and making sure that the system has a method of communication that is consistent. The town hall, for example, that's something we do every single Monday. We do a meeting, all hands on deck. Here's all the, go over the team wins, what they're working on so that my social media team can shout that from the rooftop. Then we give them updates organizationally, what we're working on, the new tech stack, everything we're talking about. Then we go through, the individual mind or the mindset that we're going to focus on as a crew for the week. But then we put that out in an email. So we give them a simple method of communication that happens the same way every week. And they know exactly what's happening. They also get the team calendar, all the trainings, collaborations, all the things we're doing. So we make it very easy. So remove friction when it comes to communication. The next tip would be decisiveness as a leader. The last thing anybody wants is somebody that you ask them the question and there's just this open loop that stays open for months at a time. Because people feel like you forgot about them and they just don't care. B, they feel like you're just somebody that is all talk and no action. I've actually done this in the past where there's just so many divisions and so many things going on. Everything always lied with me and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. And now I've changed that I actually try and deal with it like right away. So when something actually pops up, we try and deal with it within the exact time frame that we're in. If not, it gets delegated. And then there's an accountability piece where there's an actual due date and we follow up with those items. There are things that will fall away that are not critical, but I'll communicate to my last point that they are not critical or they'll be reviewed at the right time. So we do a massive contract review every single year. We look at our split structure. We look at our offerings. What are we doing as an organization? We meet with all the agents and we make major changes every year, to the brokerage because we want the agents to feel like they're a part of the growth of the prime universe. But at the same time, it also helps us deal with things that pop up all throughout the year that, could stop us in our tracks at those points in the year. Instead, we just say, no, this is when that conversation happens. If you're not willing to wait till that conversation happens, then probably not the right place for you, but we're going to give you that ability and this is how we're going to do it. So having a system in place allows us to be a lot more decisive for when the time comes. Adaptability, super important. So at the same time, making people feel like you have the ability to adapt to specific situations and we don't just have hard lines. This is the system and this is the rule. Being empathetic to people's situations, and when things have to get dealt with, I will drop everything I'm doing to deal with it at that time if the adaptation makes sense. Also, being able to adapt to markets and systems. I would say in the past, products would be brought to market because they would build a prototype, they would spend millions on it, they'd make sure it's the perfect product fit, and then they would launch. We live in the opposite world. Iterative property management is where you bring a prototype to market, you let the consumers decide if they like it, what changes they want, and then it's up to you to adapt. That is the world we are going into. That is my YouTube channel. Literally, Linnell Burns, that's a great color, Justin. Thank you. I appreciate that. Roger Horvath, the Flying Realtor, I see you. Dora Marie, you have a very balanced tone. You do not talk too fast. And a Facebook user, you got to allow StreamYard to let me know who you are, but good morning. All of these people, I'm going to ask them what they want to see more of, and I am going to adapt my channel to who they are. So this same concept works if you're looking to build a YouTube channel, social media following, business, you want to open a real estate brokerage, custom sneaker shop, whatever. Adapt to the world around you to find the best version of yourself. If you do not adapt in this market, you will die. Empowerment from a leadership perspective. Jocko Willink wrote a great book called Extreme Ownership. He also has another one called Leadership, and he talks about decentralized command. Roger Horvath, who's on this call, is phenomenal commercial real estate agent, very systematic. He's actually a helicopter pilot, flies air ambulance for Air Orange. Systems and checklists is how his brain works. So I need to empower him to be able to have decentralized command, talk to tenants, show spaces, execute at the same level that I do without me micromanaging him. So empowering your people, one of the most important concepts. If you think that matters, jump in the comments and let me know. At the same time, accountability, holding Roger accountable that, hey, we got to get that seller an update this week. Did we do that? How are we doing it? How can I empower you to feel like you can start doing those updates so I don't have to micromanage you, but are we actually doing them? And then holding him accountable or holding myself accountable to that relationship. Continuous learning is the next one. I never stop learning. It's in my calendar every single day. I told you earlier, if you want to build the self-confidence, then make sure that you are training in the thing that you want to get good at every single day. I would say training is a part of it. Learning is a part of it as well. It's a structured learning. Consume books first thing in the morning. Take courses on the things that you love. I just finished the Art of Documentary course by Mark Bone. He's a documentary filmmaker. Why am I a real estate agent watching a documentary filmmaking course? Well, because the videos that we shoot on our properties have helped me sell millions of dollars worth of homes. And I want to get better at storytelling because you, the viewer, there's just so much inventory and so much noise out there. How are my properties going to stand out differently from the others? It's going to be through my documentary filmmaking, listing videos, and how we're using those strategically. I'd say the last two things that I want to give you as insights would be resiliency. So when things aren't going right, just like the story I shared earlier, that's okay. Resiliency builds your business. Every single time anything bad has happened, I've never stuck my head in the sand. I've looked at the silver lining, probably to a fault, where I'm looking at it as an opportunity, even being like insanely self-critical of like the dynamics of how things were. Maybe I don't know the exact reason why I didn't get that mandate, but how did I actually approach it? How was my listing presentation structured? Maybe I didn't communicate effectively all of the amazing things that we do. How can I do that better next time? But I don't let the negativity ever get to me because, like I said, only person I'm competing with is myself. And every single no gets me closer to yes. There are 8 billion people on the planet. Yes, I want all of your business. I want you to call me if you need a real estate agent, but I'm not going to be pressed if 1 billion people don't want to work with me because of my energy or my positivity. I'm sure there's negative agents out there that they can work with, but I can tell you that those 7 other billion people, I will save them from the 3-star experience, and I'm okay only working with 7 billion people. And the last item is you got to take care of the people. You have to put the people before the profits. So team building is absolutely critical when it comes to how you are going to build your team and be in a leadership position. If you're not spending time focusing on the people in front of you and actually team building, you are going to be an island unto yourself. You're always going to be falling forward and you're always going to feel like there's pressure on you. But Justin, it's so hard to find good help these days. I get that. I'm not talking about hiring subservient employees. I'm talking about actual team building, getting in the trenches with a core group of people that execute at the level that you execute at or want to, and that you can work with. I think we're going away from the subservient, you work for me, punch this clock, come in the office from this time to this time reality. Look at work from home and what that looks like. I think the future of office work, I don't think office is going to go away. Commercial real estate is crashing, as they say. I think it's going to be hybrid. You'll see 30 to 40%, but you'll see in-office sales training. You'll see in-office collaboration because human connection matters. But automations, AI, tech stacks are going to allow you to do with 10 people what you could have done with 30 to 50 people. The tech stack that we are building is going to eliminate so much manual input. It's going to give us the ability to serve our core group at an insanely high level. Our production levels are well beyond brokerages that are 10 times my size per capita. Our agents are crushing it because of how we collaborate as a team. So I'd say that's absolutely critical. If you want some more insights when it comes to leadership, I'm going to share something in the stream for you real quick. This is the podcast that I've been running actually since, I want to say 2017. Prime People Podcast. It's 152 episodes, and it's people that I told you I think are visionaries in their space. Tom Story has one of the best YouTube channels I've ever seen in the real estate space. He actually talks about how he built it. I just had our boy Marvin Reed on yesterday, so there's a new episode dropping this morning. Tommy Waite, the in-home chef, he's an absolutely culinary genius. I had him on and he talks about how he lost a lot of money in a really bad partnership, and he shares that story live on the podcast. So I constantly get inspired by other people and how they've built their business so that I can take lessons from that and implement it in mine. So if you think there's any value in that, feel free to jump onto the Prime People Podcast. Sirhan's been on here. Scott McGilvery's been on here. Glenn Lundy's been on here. I can go on and on. There's some amazing, amazing people. So check out the Prime People Podcast. Thank you for joining me for another live stream. If you want any more specific trainings, let me know. I'm here every Friday at 7 a.m. where we will drop the replay. And make sure to connect with me in the notes or in the comments before, and I'll make sure to click back on all your names and connect with me on IG. And I'll catch you next time. Thank you.